Welcome to the Sandler Training Hour. You're with your hosts, Jim and Jason Stevens. And Jim, this week, I thought we'd spend some time talking a little bit about something that may not be popular for salespeople to hear, which is, to some degree, you might want to consider having a script. And I think a lot of salespeople find this idea conceptually uncomfortable, especially if you're selling a high value and quality good. It's
Yeah,
really easy to think, well, a script would get in the way of my expertise. It ruins my originality. It would prevent me from, I don't know, being in the moment because I'd be so busy learning something. So
yeah,
why don't you tackle that at the forefront and just answer the question from your perspective? Why was a script useful for you? And we can talk about that through the frame of the playbook, right?
yeah. I think the reality that most of us feel is following a script makes me inauthentic.
Hmm.
And and the first time you look at a script, you're thinking, I can't say those words. Those aren't my words, and that doesn't feel right to me. And I think all those feelings are 100% accurate.
Yeah.
I believe that a big part of uh, developing skill is repetition.
Yeah.
And if you aren't coming into the sales call prepared, what you're doing is winging it. And you're following, instead of a system and a process, you're following your routine. And while before Sandler, my routine was use the sales process all the way through unpaid consulting to presenting a proposal as a means to qualify the buyer. In retrospect, if they didn't fall over dead from a heart attack from the pricing and would actually give me money, they were qualified.
Yeah.
And and it's a tremendous waste of time because the reality is if you've been in sales more than a year, you've already experienced 89, 90% of what a buyer is going to do and say in various situations. So rather than trying to be authentic and not be canned and scripted, what if we looked at it as I am going to come prepared, anticipating what buyers might say and do, and have it locked and loaded how I might respond. And to do that, you've got to get over this head trash that says, I can't follow a script. One suggestion I have for that, one thing that helped me get over that, is realizing that we celebrate actors
Yeah.
worldwide for their acting skill. And really, their skill boils down to the ability to memorize lines, play them back in character with such conviction that the character is authentic.
Yeah.
And I think you is a very fluid thing and
Yeah.
you're evolving and developing. So instead of stop working so hard and start anticipating, just pay attention to all the things that throw you curveballs and build your scripts, build your process to equip yourself to not get stuck.
Yeah, there's a couple of threads that I'd pull there. And the first one I would touch on is just that idea of there's head trash that's stopping you from using a script. And I love that you brought up this idea of professional actors and actresses doing something because coming from the context of English and enjoying English class, when I run into a play with a script in it, I'm not automatically thinking, oh, this is garbage. There's nothing here. Because I default into understanding like the medium does something well. And so I don't discount sales scripts either because what they do is offer an individual the chance, and this is the second point, to iterate. And by that I mean if I tell you I'm not getting much further than a relationship started in the first conversation with someone, you might say, well, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. What does that look like? And if I've never had a plan or can't show you what I'm trying to do, then it's really hard to tell me what's working or not working. So think about this from the salesperson's perspective. This is why, like 9 times out of 10, a salesperson feels really good about a sales call up until the point where their manager is doing a ride along or someone else is offering them feedback, and then suddenly, like, oh, this was just a bad example.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
well, I normally don't perform this way. And so then you got to ask the question, well, why is it that 6 out of 10 times you walk away feeling good about a sales conversation, but consistently when someone else is present, you feel like maybe something didn't go right?
yeah, yeah.
And maybe it was you were off, maybe the prospect was off. Either way, the thing that we're noticing is that you feel good about a sales call when you're the only one there and that when there's visibility, you're not feeling great. And so if we wanted to coach towards that or figure out what the gap is, we start with that question of, well, what were you trying to do? What did you intend to do? And if your intentions are described conceptually, that's a troublesome area to offer feedback because that's when we've got two conceptual ideas of what took place based on either maybe we have visibility into the call so we can watch it together and talk about what were you thinking at this moment, but it's really far away from having a plan. And a plan allows you to iterate. It is something that you say, I'm going to try and do this. And then you can look, what is the gap between me saying, I'm going to try and do it and do it? Because if you think about the success triangle, behavior is not what you intended to do. Behavior is what you actually did.
Yeah, that agreed. And a key comment that you made there is the question, what did you intend to happen?
Hmm.
And I think I don't know the percentage, or I don't know if it's even obtainable, but my hunch is, at least in my experience, people who have not been through a sales training program, and it doesn't have to be Sandler, just being through a program that trains you about intention and outcome.
Yeah.
Without that, I would say the majority of salespeople go into a call that, what was your intention? Well, to get them to buy from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had
Okay,
reached out for some reason.
yeah, yeah. So what's your process to get that to happen? Well, find out if they have a problem, find out if I can solve it.
Sure.
If I can, find out what they're gonna be. Well, yeah, I mean, it's the basic things that happen accidentally in a sales call, but
Yeah.
when it's not structured in a process that aligns with the psychology behind how people buy, the results are gonna be hit and miss.
Yeah.
And people are eminently predictable.
Yeah.
You can count on how they will respond based on their behavioral style under almost every situation. And yet
Yeah.
you're going into the sales call with no clear intention. That just is short-sighted thinking.
Yeah.
And
And if
if
you,
you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you're the type of person who's convinced yourself that you don't have a script, like you have sold yourself a load.
Yeah.
Like your response to an emotional moment probably can be pretty scripted. The person who's closest to you can probably tell you how you would respond if they said blank. The scripts that we have, more often than not, are just internalized behavior patterns that we think above 55% of the time work out for our benefit. But pattern recognition at 55% versus 45% is still not great.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we would think of success as in school, it's at least above a 70. So, yeah.
I think part of the thing that stops most of us is getting from where I am, assuming I have a routine that I follow, which in my mind is my process,
Hmm.
and it works ish. I mean, before Sandler, I had a pretty solid, respectable close ratio of about 30%. I mean, it wasn't bad,
Yeah.
but it was exhausting. And the fact that I was successful kept me entrenched in a process that made me a slave to um,
Well, you don't, it
constantly
doesn't hurt
being
bad enough, right?
I was constantly being creative. I
Yeah,
had to always think about what happens next. And what I missed was your brain can't occupy two spaces at once. I can't be thinking about what I'm going to say next and listen to what you're saying clearly enough to be able to actually take it in and respond to it.
yeah,
And that gap is that's what created the pain, Jason, for me to finally say, you know what I'm doing doesn't work as well as I think it does.
yeah, yeah. At some point, you spend enough time listening to respond and realizing that you're listening for things that you're comfortable responding to, aka triggering a script, that you get burned. And
Yeah,
that burn, that final pain is the thing that tells you, okay, I'm ready to try something else. It doesn't have to be a dramatic shift, but
right.
it can't be this experience, which is I've spent X amount of my own time, Y amount of my company's time, and I'm coming away from a chaste relationship 4 months down the road with an answer that I should have figured out within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
So if that's you and if that resonates, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us at 208-429-9275, or you found your way to this podcast, so scroll down, send us an email, but otherwise, good selling. Good luck out there.